Hey y'all, I'm Dr. Miranda Ferguson, host of Southern Soul Chats, and we are thrilled that you're joining us for our summer series, Stories of Faith. If you've been with us for a little while, then you already know this is one of my favorite seasons each year. I'm always so honored and privileged to sit down with incredible people as they share their God stories with us. We have some amazing guests lined up this summer, and I truly believe you're not going to want to miss one single episode. So, wherever you're listening from today, thank you for being here, and let's jump into today's conversation. We are so glad to have you with us. Now, you are joining us for our summer series, Stories of Faith, and we have an amazing story for you today. I am so proud and honored to be on the set of Baylor University's new podcast studio. And besides being thrilled about that, I am more thrilled about who is sitting next to me, which is Dr. Stroope, and I'm going to let him tell you what he does here at Baylor, and then we are going to get into sharing his story. So I hope you're ready, because this is going to be really good today.
Well, I'm Mike Stroope. I teach at Baylor. I've been here 25 years. I teach in the Seminary, George W. Truett Theological Seminary. I teach in the area of world Christianity and witness. My PhD is in historical theology and witness or mission. I wrote about Karl Barth and his doctrine of God. But yeah, so I came here 25 years ago, and so that's where I teach. I'm from Dallas originally, and grew up there, and came to faith there through my parents, and then did church life there, and then went overseas when I was 25, and was overseas a good 21 years. So that's who I am.
Yeah, and thank you so much for being here. I met you a couple of months back at an event that Truett Seminary had, a conference, and you were one of the modules you could go to and pick. And so I read the title and said, "Oh, this looks good for me. Let's do this one." And boy, I do not regret that decision. Oh. And I approached you there and asked you if you'd be willing to share your story, because in that small bit of time that I was with Dr. Stroope, there was a big impact for me and what I was walking through. And what I see from the short amount of time of knowing you is you're not someone who's just spent years teaching and walking with God, but you literally walk it out. And they will understand that better, that you're actually living what you teach. And I use preach in the sense of what you share with others. And so, I am just so honored. Thank you for being here.
Well, I'm honored to be here. Thank you for asking me.
So we're going to just jump into your story, and you do a great job telling your story. And so I believe you began with telling us the early years of your life when you shared that day. So I'm going to let you do what you do best and share.
Well, if I leave anything out, please.
I got it. It's right here.
Well, I grew up in Dallas and grew up in a home of faith. My mother led me to faith when I was 9 years of age. And so church was always a part of life. We were in church Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday nights. And back then we had an organization called Royal Ambassadors, and this was teaching young boys about faith and about missions and that sort of thing. And so for me, life was about moving overseas. I mean, from a very early age, I thought about, I want to be, quote, a missionary. And so I met my wife. We were in college at Hardin-Simmons out in Abilene, Texas, and married and rushed through seminary. She rushed through nursing school, and we found ourselves living overseas. And in many ways, what I grew up with was, A equal A. This is what life looks like. And I had been enculturated in church life and in mission education, and really all that started coming unraveled early on. What I had pictured myself doing and how I thought things would happen just weren't happening. And we did that for a while, then came home and I did my degree, my PhD, and then we went back overseas, lived at that time in Germany and working with Kurdish people that were living in Germany as well as Turkey and Iraq. and then moved to London, and then to Hong Kong. And in all those places, there was sort of a shift in what we were doing in terms of an emphasis. When we went to Sri Lanka, we were planting churches and doing theological education by extension. And then we were working non-residentially into places like Turkey and Syria. And in the last 10 years, I was an administrator, administrating other people that were doing this. So all that was kind of shifting, but also I think my understanding of what was A equaling A was coming undone. A lot of anomalies. And so came to a point to where there was a reorganization in our organization, and I felt like out of conviction I had to leave. And so we resigned after being a part of an organization for 21 years, starting a lot of things, doing a lot of different things, and all of a sudden, A no longer equaled A. It was just undone, unraveled.
I would imagine that moment had to be, it was a hard moment anyway, but in thinking, growing up in the church and thinking about missions and this is what I'm supposed to do, this is what God's opening the doors to do it, I have a wife, we're doing it together. Like you said, the different stages and phases, I would think that ending would be very tough.
Well, it was tough in that we went from something we knew so well with people we loved and work that we loved to really nothing. We were living in a cabin out in Stephenville, Texas, and didn't have an income. We were burning through our savings, and I was speaking here and there and doing other things, but really lost. And that's when, I had been athletic when I was young, played football and all that, and had tried to run as a young adult. But at that point, I started walking, and we were living out in the country, and I would just walk the roads, just trying to make sense of things. And so in a way, it was me trying to put things back together, things that had become undone and were unraveled, just trying to knit them back together where life made sense. Of course, at that time, we had 3 children. 1 had already gone off to college. 2 were still at home with us. And just trying to say, how do I provide for my family? Have I done something stupid here? Have I misheard God when he said, it's time for you to come back, you need to step out of this? And so just wondering and just trying hard to make sense. And for me, the way of doing that was not listening to podcasts and not trying to sit down with a piece of paper and pencil. I was reading a lot, but also just walking a lot.
So did you just prompt, like, you just, in the middle of all the confusion and probably just noise in your head, not so much the noise of the world, but just the noise and, like you said, the questions you're asking. Was it just like one day you just were like, you know what, I just need space. I'm just going.
Well, we were living in space.
Lots of space.
And we were in a small cabin. And so just walking those roads was just, I think, me. I wasn't listening to podcasts. I wasn't singing songs. I was just thinking.
Right.
And I think the rhythm of my body and walking was a way, one, dealing with the stress, but also just in some way saying, what do I believe? I mean, what is A anymore?
Yeah.
And so I think in some ways reworking my theology. I think coming out of seminary, I had it all set. I was a master of divinity and went overseas, and it started unraveling. One, seeing poverty like I've never seen, a church that was not really thriving, and we thought we would come and we would do the things that we needed to do, but we'd see tremendous success, and we didn't see it.
Right.
And so that was the unraveling that kept unraveling, and then found ourselves there sitting in that cabin, and really a crisis of faith. Is God acting in the world? And if he is, do we ever participate in that? Do we have a part in that? So, yeah, it was a question of, income and about where am I going to live, but more than that is, who is God? And what is he doing in this world? And how do we participate in that? And so that question was turning over and over and over, and we sat there, for a couple of years. There was no relief to it. It was constant. It was always with us. And of course, people were looking at us and thinking, what's wrong with y'all?
Yeah.
Have you done something? Have you sinned? Have you done something wrong?
I'm feeling like I hear the Old Testament and the New Testament. Like, what did you do to cause X, Y, Z, and Q in your life?
Right. And then Miranda, out of the blue, I got this phone. We were living in a stone cabin with a tin roof, and we couldn't get cell reception there, so I had an antenna on top of the roof. I had to plug my phone into it and to get any kind of phone call. And someone at Baylor called me and asked me if I'd be interested in a job at Truett. And I said, "Where is Truett?" And so I came and I interviewed, and we prayed about it, talked about it, and I came here. Mm. And I have to tell you that I think all those years overseas prepares me for what I do here. But more than that, I think those years in that cabin broke me of some things that were really centering my life that I didn't know, that I was so unaware of. And so I came here, and of course, you had to do this thing called tenure. And so I was working hard toward tenure, and we were living out there, driving 90 miles in.
Oh, wow.
Every day. I stay the night, 2 nights of the week here. So I was driving, and we were trying to build a house out there, and I was trying to get tenure, and I just almost broke my health just doing that. I was way overweight. I was not in good physical condition. And we went to Little Rock to see my daughter and her husband, and the two of us, my son-in-law and I, we climbed a mountain outside of Little Rock called Pinnacle. And I thought I was having a heart attack. And so that was a shift. And on that way down, my son-in-law and I, we talked about, his name is Chris, we talked about the fact we need, not he.
We had a timeout moment on the side.
Yeah, he's in great shape, and he's a runner and all that. And he said, "Stroope, something's got to change." And so we planned our first walk coming down that hill.
Wow.
That was Thanksgiving, and by June we were in the Lake District in England, in the north of England, walking this 75-mile walk. And I have not stopped since then. All that to say, yeah, there's unraveling and a putting together, but I think there's a constant putting together coming out of the tenure process and getting tenure and staying here. I think the whole of my life has been trying to say, this is what the weave should look like. This is what the faith journey should look like. I'm 74, and I'm still trying to do that. And I don't think that we ever really solve that. When we do think we've solved that, then we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Because it is a pilgrimage. It is a walk of faith. It doesn't stop, and nor do we ever just get there, but we're to be continually moving forward by faith. And for me, for somebody else, it may be something different. Maybe it's cooking or whatever. But for me, that walk of faith is a literal walk, that I move my body. And am I moving my body? It's almost like prayer, and it's a discipline. And as I said that day that you were there at the conference, for me, it's creating space so that God can instruct me, and so that I can, in some ways, make sense of my thoughts. So I don't listen to music. I don't listen to a podcast. I just let my mind go where it needs to go, and I do a lot of praying. I try to memorize poetry and recite my poems as I'm walking, but it's all in an effort to weave together. This is what the life of faith for Mike should look like. I'll think through my day, think about maybe the things that maybe I misspoke, or the things that are bothering me. But it's almost like walking. I can make sense of those things where just in my head they're not making sense, or in some way they're undoing me. So the walking and the step by step allows me to process. And there's a lot of benefits. There's all kinds of studies.
Clearly a lot of health benefits.
Health benefits, things about killing stress, or just getting out into the woods and seeing beauty. I mean, there's tons of benefit. But for me, the biggest benefit is I feel like I'm weaving. I'm putting together my day. I'm putting together these things that are inside of me, kind of niggling me, that I need in some ways to physically, not just mentally, but physically weave these together. So it's if I'm not walking, I'm not in a good state.
You're not in a good place.
Yeah, and so I'll walk my neighborhood. As I said, we have a wonderful park here in Waco called Cameron Park, and I'll walk there usually Sunday morning early and Saturday morning early, just to set my weekends, set my days. So so that's my story, and
this walking has led to it not just being a Michael Stroope
right
adventure of walking.
Right.
It's a gift that God's given you because it is actually poured in to other people's lives as well.
Well, that first walk in the north of England was with my son-in-law and my daughter. And so my son-in-law and we did the whole thing. My daughter, they had a small child, and so my wife was there to take care of the child, and she walked with us some days. But mainly it was Chris and I. We walked 75 miles. But I've done a long-distance walk every summer since, and a lot of those have been with students.
Yeah.
There's a long walk, 1,600 miles, called the Via Francigena from Canterbury to Rome. And I've walked that twice, not the whole thing, but portions of that, about 420 miles of that with students. And it's amazing the conversations you have that you would not have in the classroom or in Waco. But you're walking, you're talking, and you have nothing else to do but to talk.
Yeah, you're not going to get any kind of cell signal or Wi-Fi signal where you're walking.
Right. Well, and these conversations, they may pick up, and then you may drop it for a day, and then you pick the same conversation up a day later after you've had time to think about it.
What do you see happens? I mean, I know that you'll have personal experience as well to answer this, but to others too. What do you see happens to a person as they begin to slow down and walk like this and have this new rhythm? Because that's what I feel like, is that when you enter into, this is not just like walking around your cul-de-sac at home.
No.
This is a transfer of rhythm into doing something new. What do you see happens to a person?
I think you become attentive. You become attentive to what's around you. Now, we're driving by these beautiful sights in our car, and, they're just blurs.
Right.
But when you're walking at the speed of maybe 3 to 4 miles an hour, you're seeing the leaves, you're seeing the colors, you're seeing the light through the trees. And so you, in a sense, you're training yourself to be attentive. And then also you're attentive to your body. You feel your heart rate. It's now, I know exactly how far I've walked because of how I feel or where I am on the trail. And so you become attentive to your body and what's happening there, your breathing, and just the rhythm of your legs and the gait that you're walking. So you become attentive there. And if you have someone beside you, then it's not like you have a phone to look at or you have this to look at or you're just sitting looking forward, but you're talking and you are aware of the person next to you. And as you walk, you learn. But it's more than just learning about the facts of someone's life. You're learning about them and their presence, and you're with them. You're really with them. And so I think that's one of the biggest things is just we're teaching ourselves to be attentive to what's around us, what's inside of us, and who's next to us.
So why do you think we struggle so much with slowing down?
Well, of course, people talk about the fear of missing out. And I talk about, many times I talk about walking as being just a royal waste of time. And we're missing out on a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. But it may be that we're not missing out on the things inside of us. So I think one of the fears is that we don't want to look at what's inside of us.
That's good.
We don't want to be confronted with that. And so
you think when you walk, because of what you're doing.
Well, what you're thinking. Your mind's going where it needs to go.
You're making the space for things to come to the surface.
Yeah, I can't tell you how much of my walking has been, why did you say that? And then repenting of that or praying about that or just the fears that are inside. Unguarded, they come out. And so walking without listening to music or this or that, you're just walking. And you're receptive to those fears coming to the front and facing us. And so maybe we're afraid of seeing ourselves and knowing who we are. And
I think there's a fear of what God's asking us to do with that, like what he may be asking for us to give up or move in a different direction.
Oh, yeah, the needle. Yeah, the needle. We're being asked for the needle to change in another direction. It's kind of like, maybe weaving is one way of talking about it. Maybe it's the compass, how we're being directed to walk in a certain way, in a certain direction. I mean, there's been a lot of times that in Cameron Park or on one of these long walks that I've heard God said, not this way, but this way. Stop doing that. Stop being that. Walk in this direction and be this. In the walk I did in 2019 on the Via Francigena with 7 students, I came out of that, and I would say I distinctly heard God tell me some things, and I wrote down 7 pledges at the end of that.
Oh, you shared those.
I didn't share the pledges, but I shared that.
You shared about that experience.
Yeah.
Because it's you opened something to the back.
They're in the front of my journal.
Okay, yeah.
And so I've got a Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday, and so I try to rehearse those pledges every day. And they've expanded. That was 2019, which was 7 years ago. And so, I've listed bullet points underneath those, and I try to redo them every year. But I think I heard God in a very specific way, Mike, do this, don't do that. And so I wanted to capture that, wrote those down, and so I rehearse those. And they're not earth-shattering, but they're very specific to me as a teacher, as a friend, as the way that the things I'm going to do with my life. And so I heard distinctly, so I try to capture that, and I rehearse those, and I'll rehearse those as I walk in some ways. So it's a matter of creating space so we hear, and then what we hear, we do something with. Not just that we hear it and we run past it to the next thing,
right,
but we rehearse it. And walking in some ways is that. It's not something new we do. We put one foot in front of the others. And of course, Paul talks about walking by faith, not by sight. And so we're walking by faith into those things that we've heard. And it's a reminder. It's not a grand reminder. It's a very steady reminder. Because you just put on your socks, your shoes, your shorts, and then head for the door, and a shirt, and head for the door.
Gotta have the shirt.
Gotta have the shirt, and mostly a cap also. And you start walking. And just that, Miranda, is an act of faith. That here, I'm stepping into this space of walking, and God, will you meet me as I walk? Will you remind me as I walk? I don't watch much TV.
Yeah, I don't either.
Very, very little. People ask me, how do you have so much time to walk? Well, just
that's all I'm doing.
well, just think about how much time we spend in front of the TV.
Yeah.
And we're listening to other voices, other scripts, other sales pitches.
Right.
And so in some ways I want to say, no, this is the discipline where I'm, in a sense, putting that aside, and I step by faith into this. And will you speak to me? I had a pastor friend who always used to pray, God, what could you do? What do you want to do? And I think by stepping into walking, I'm saying, God, what do you want to do? What do you want to say to me? I'm listening.
It's a very rich opportunity.
Oh.
To show up to the one that's waiting for you to show up.
Right. Yeah. And it's creating space. Henry Nouwen, the Catholic mystic, he always talked about creating vacancy for God. And so our lives are so full.
Yes, they are. Extremely full.
Extremely
full. Too full.
And so in a sense, this is a way of not just crowding something else into my schedule. It's creating a pause at the end of my day, early Saturday morning, and creating vacancy so God can, who's there already, can speak and I can hear him. Isn't that wonderful?
It is, and it's something I'm so horrible at. as you're talking and as I heard your story, I've had time between that moment and this moment to have moments where I had to make a decision on just keep going, keep pushing, keep doing, or leave space, do this differently. I'm from Houston, and so there's not a lot of walking. I'm sure I could find I'm sure I could find some spaces near where I live, but in terms of what like walking here looks like, and clearly I've never taken a walk anywhere else the way you have. But I remember leaving here, and I think I even emailed you and told you this in one of our discussions for the podcast. I went home because you had mentioned something about walking and how it opens, relationships. And somebody in the room that day talked about they had walked with their wife. They had spoke up and said, I started walking with my wife, and it really changed our marriage in a lot of ways. And because of the season my husband and I were in and the things we were facing, that we were literally walking through some areas they were new to us.
Yeah.
I went home and I told him, I said, let's walk when we can. We do have younger children, so it presents some opportunities. It limits some of our opportunities to when we're in the same place at the same time and who's going to watch the kids so we can walk. And so we have a bit of a challenge there. But there were a few nights we were able to get it in right after I was with you. And I noticed exactly what he said and exactly what you're talking about. There was no one else to talk to. There was nothing else to talk about.
Right.
And it was just like we just started talking. And before you knew it, we had walked all the way down to the point we were going to walk to and back. And it was like I had heard so much. And I realized in that moment, I hear him every day. I'm with him all the time. But I heard him just so much more.
Well, our Heavenly Father wants us to hear him.
Yes.
And he's talking all day long, and either through his word or through situations or however. But we can't hear him. There's so much noise, so much distraction. And so, what a gift to say, at the end of my day, this hour and 15 minutes that I walk, I'm listening. And we don't have to say much. We just walk and let our minds go where it needs to go. And he's speaking. He wants to speak to us. And he wants us to hear him. Yeah.
So somebody like me who just straight out says this is a struggle. Yeah, I struggle with trying to be in control of everything. I struggle with trying to put it all together, right? So, things that God's not asking me to do, clearly. But how do you start? How do you recenter and refocus and take all these things that the world tells us we should be busy, we should be moving, we should be doing this. You're not being successful if you're not going and going. Like, how do we just even take the first step in doing this and creating this new space?
Yeah. I think we have to realize that we have choices and that our choices are real. And so we choose what we do. We may think that everyone is controlling us or that our schedule or whatever, but we choose. And so by choosing this, I've chosen not to do this over here. And once you start habituating that choice, you do it every day or you do it 5 times a week, it's like then it's built into your schedule. So I know that I'll walk today. I mean, it's just, I don't make a choice anymore.
It's just a part of your daily routine.
It's my rhythm. And so I've already said yes to that. I don't say yes again.
Well, I like that.
Yeah.
It's done. It's a done deal.
Yeah, it's done. And so I know that either before or after dinner, I'll put on my socks and shoes. They're right there by the door. I don't make it fancy. I just put on the shoes. I put on my shorts or pants or whatever the weather requires, and then I'm out the door. And I have my routes. In my neighborhood in the evening, I've got 3 different routes. And so once I start on one, I don't even make a choice about where I'm going. I already know where I'm going. There's no choice there. And so if I do what I call the Montessori loop, that's one. That's 3 miles. If I do the St. Mary's loop, then that's 3.7. If I do the courthouse loop, then that's 4.25.
You really do have it down, man. They got names and loops.
I have a Garmin, but I don't really need it. Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's a matter of making choices. In the beginning, we make maybe a choice every day. but then it becomes a rhythm. And on the days I don't walk, I don't sleep well. In the days I don't walk, I haven't expended that energy, and so I feel like tense or anxious. And the days I don't walk, I have not processed my day. And so to me, I miss it. Oh, if for some reason I can't because of the weather or because of travel or whatever, I haven't woven the day together.
Yeah.
And so
It doesn't feel complete.
It doesn't feel complete. Yeah. So it's a matter of choice in the beginning, but then it becomes a part of rhythm. And then I try to have some carrots out there. Like I told you, I'm walking this summer with my grandson in Norway, and so that's the payoff. I don't want him to show me up.
Oh.
I don't want him to
outwalk
me. And plus, I want to enjoy it.
Right.
And so I have that carrot in front of me that I'm going to be walking this summer with my grandson and his mother and his father, the four of us together. And so that's a payoff, and it keeps me walking. But I've already decided I'm going to walk. But that's a payoff, a carrot out there. And so I think we're always planning. I was with my son and his wife, and we were talking about summer of 27 taking a walk in France. And so we were already planning that. And so I'll always have one out there, and that keeps me moving to say I want to be walking when I'm 100.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But I can if I just I read a book on aging about a year ago by a physician, and he says our problem is we think we have to slow down when we need to be speeding up.
Oh, that is good.
And he says our joints, our hearts, all of our body fluids, they need to be pumping and moving. And so he says, don't be stupid and do things like jumping off curbs or whatever, but we need to keep moving.
Right.
And so I feel like as long as I keep moving, I'll be able to do a pilgrimage when I'm 99 or 100. I pray so.
When that happens, let me know.
Okay.
I want to see that. I may want to be a part of that. Who knows? I may need to jump off and do a pilgrimage myself.
Yeah.
We're going to leave the door open for any possibilities.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk a minute about your role as a faculty member. You see endless number of students, semester by the semester, just the turnover in students, meaning that you have new classes, new groups constantly. How has this made you a better teacher?
Well, because I teach in the area of world Christianity and witness, and I talk a lot about being a pilgrim witness. I wrote a book in 2017, and the epilogue is called Pilgrim Witness. And I think we're on a journey in this life. And so I talk about these things in terms of that we're coming alongside other people, and we're journeying with them. One human being walking with another human being. I mean, what is empathy and love but joining someone else in solidarity? And so I frame a lot of what I talk about in the classroom and the way I frame our Christian experience and our journey through this world is a pilgrimage. And of course, Peter does too. He talks about being sojourners. Abraham, he set out. I mean, it's throughout Scripture. And so...
that's all they did. I mean,
and they just walked, yeah.
And as you're talking, before you said that, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, especially we're coming off Easter weekend, was when we're recording this, and thinking about how Jesus walked.
Yeah, to the cross, yeah. Well, I read somewhere they've estimated that he walked 21,000 miles in his lifetime.
Wow.
Of course, if they didn't walk, they rode a donkey.
Right.
But that's all there was, or a cart. And so that, until just recently, I think people walked most of their lives. So I see myself as an alongside-er with my students, walking alongside them. And I'll start the semester, Miranda, and I'll say, I'll pray in my own head, Lord, who do you want me to walk beside this semester? And I have maybe a class of 30, but maybe there's 2 or 3 there that I'm to walk alongside. And so to me, it's an imagery. It's a way of seeing ourselves in the world that we come alongside other people and walk with them. And in walking next to them, that becomes our way of showing empathy, solidarity, moving by faith with them when they don't have faith, are just crises and trauma in their life that we're to walk alongside people.
And I really got to see a glimpse of that in that conference because there were several people there from all different places and areas, and this was at the end of the day, so there was a handful of us in there, but many of them spoke up and testified to being in relationship with you.
Yeah.
And doing some of these walks, whether it was a pilgrimage or walking here locally, and you could just see the passion and how they spoke about what it meant to them.
Well, I think this generation, they want to be seen. And we're so busy and we're so distracted. We need the facility of walking to shut that out. If anything, they were seen by somebody. Yeah. And maybe even heard by somebody, but seeing is enough. I think just the attention we give with our bodies, and just the fact that we carve out the time and we're walking together. When I do these long pilgrim walks for 5 weeks with the same people, I'm seen by them, and they see me at my worst and maybe even my best. But we see each other, and it's not performance. I mean, so much of ministry we've made into performance. But this generation, they want to authentically see someone, and they want to be seen. So by walking, you're opening yourself up to somebody, and you're spending, of course, on those walks, we're staying in convents, we're all in the same room, we're getting up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, or we're...
Like, you guys are really close.
but we're having these conversations that are meaningful and are really life-changing. And so if I'm a good teacher, maybe it's because I'm a good listener. And I've learned...
but that has developed through your walking.
Oh, absolutely.
And your life journey, your journey with Christ.
Yeah. Well, and I think, some people think that good teaching is good talking, but I don't think it is. I think it's good listening. Asking good questions, and then giving someone my eyeballs to where they know that I'm actually hearing them. Well, I think I've developed that by walking and by listening and being quiet and finding a rhythm and not feeling I have to rush to something else, another topic, another thing, but sit with someone and actually hear them. That's in short supply these days. And yet I think this generation, these 20 and 30-something-year-olds, they want to be seen. They want to know that someone actually sees them. And if it's someone of importance in their life, all the better, but just somebody.
Yeah, I don't want to miss the thought of this. We're talking about literally walking. Like, that's what you do. You get up, you go in Cameron Park, you take these amazing pilgrimages with family, or like you're fixing to do one with alumni coming up soon. But when we look at this scripturally, walking is what we're prompted to do scripturally.
Oh, yeah. Walk by faith, yeah. I also think about Jesus on the road after his resurrection with the disciples. And they said that as they were walking, their eyes were opened. And I take that as a metaphor to say that as we're walking with Christ, we discover, and our eyes are open to new things, to new revelation of who we are, who God is, or maybe the next step. And so to me, that's not just passive time, that's active time. That's the time of discovery. And I think about the disciples doing all that walking with Jesus and the conversations they had.
I know, could you imagine if the distractions that we have, like we are in 2026, the distractions are insane.
Yeah.
You can be distracted by whatever you want to be distracted by.
Right.
If you don't want to think about something, if you don't want to feel something, the options are limitless.
Yeah.
But could you imagine if the disciples would not have had that rich time of walking and talking, the things they saw, the things they heard? I mean, we see, if we read the Bible, we see transformation of all the people in the Bible who walked with God in the Old Testament, Christ in the New. Like, I think to myself, oh my gosh, what if they would have missed that?
Well, I think we do miss it because we're not attuned to it. And so to me, walking trains us. I mean, The Bible talks a lot about Sabbath. What's the Sabbath about? Stopping our world and telling ourselves it didn't all depend on us, but also just parking the distractions so that we can sit and hear God. And so to me, walking is like a daily Sabbath. I've parked my day. Yeah, there's things I've got to mow the yard, or I've got to do this or that.
Don't forget to clean the pool.
Yeah, but I park that.
Right.
And I'm walking. And it's not a waste of time, really. It's training in hearing who God is and what He wants to say. Because unlike the disciples, we don't live in a world where there's high attention. We're in sort of an attention deficit, and so I think we have to park the stuff and train ourselves to be attentive to God.
Wow, that's so very rich. And when you're the person sitting in this chair who knows that they struggle with that, it is really just like a moment where you're going, it makes so much sense, right? To just stop and to fall back, to pause. And then in your brain, a person like me is going, yeah, how do I do that? Because I have this and I have that. And the constant striving,
right?
The constant need to be somewhere, the kids this, the husband that, the ministry. But realizing that, like what you just said, so important, sometimes you have to put it in park because it doesn't all depend on you doing all those things.
Yeah. I want to also say, I think we need to be active and we need to be involved in things, but maybe we're involved in stuff we don't need to be, and we're just spinning our wheels.
Yeah.
And I think the pausing and the walking helps us to know, don't do that, do this.
Yeah.
Or don't say it that way, say it and do it this way. And so it is dialing down the busyness, but it's also determining really what is needful, what is important, because we do a lot of stuff that's not important. That is because we've been told A equals A, and therefore we need to do those things to be a good mom, to be a good Christian, to be that,
right.
And quite possibly that script is wrong. And when it does come unraveled because of health or because of a tragedy or whatever, we are forced to take pauses. So, and then we reevaluate those things. We try to reweave them together. Well, maybe I'm just being proactive with my walking, that I'm trying to do that every day, and train myself maybe to hear. And I don't always hear well, and I miss hear. But at least I'm creating a vacancy so that God, if He does need to say something to me, I can hear it. And plus, just to rethink my day, to say, why did I do that? Should I have done this? So it's not about not being busy. It's about maybe being busy about the right things and being active in the places we need to be active.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so as we wrap up,
I
have a question for you. What would you say to the person who realizes they've been constantly running ahead of God, filling all the spaces, instead of walking with Him? What encouragement, what would you say to them in this moment?
But it wasn't really until I was in my 50s that I really started walking. And I wish that someone had said something to me to say, Mike, reorder your life daily. Now, Paul talks about dying daily. I think this is a way of dying. And so it becomes a pattern of life. And especially as we're younger, if we can do this and put this pattern into our lives, I think we prepare ourselves for the things that are coming, whether it's grandchildren or it's children leaving us. I think it's a way of spiritual preparation for what's to come. Maybe one way of thinking about it is I'm putting money in the bank, because there will be crises in life. Disappointments, deaths to things, or even people in our lives. And so I would say you do this in order that you might be a faithful person when that moment comes, and so that you can live out your confession in a faithful way, in a way that's God-honoring. I've seen so many that have professed and have followed, but then they come to a certain point in life and it's like they're agnostic. And it's like there's something, there's surface there, but there's not something underneath. And so I think it's nothing that's easy. You have to make decisions, and you have to determine that this is important. But what you're doing is you're putting money into the bank. So when those days come, not so you can survive, but so that we can bear our witness that Jesus is Lord of our life, and that He is our hope, and not these other things I've been busy in, but He. And so walking's not the point. Walking is not the point. Jesus is the point. And so this is just a vehicle to get us to where we know that we can hope in Him. And we're putting money into that bank to say, this is where my savings are. This is where my hope is. And as one Reformation theologian said, hope is like a soldier that marches. And I want my hope to be there. So that when those crises do come, because they will, then I can soldier on with Him and be ready. So it's a matter of, do we want to live for the moment, or do we want to say, I want this to be a long walk in the direction of Christ.
That's powerful. That's powerful for me, and I know it's powerful for our audience. And there's no way I would rather end this podcast than saying that it all turns back to Christ.
Yeah.
It is about that walk with Him and how He changes us and how He guides us and how He speaks to us, because He does.
He does.
He speaks, but we have to create the space to hear well.
Well, He doesn't speak on our command, but we make space so when He does, we're able to hear and respond to Him.
Thank you so much for coming today and making the space to share the story. Even though I've heard it, I was waiting to hear it again, and it was just as good as the first time too. Thank you so much. And thank you guys for being here with us today. If this story resonates with you, or in this moment, if God has put someone on your heart and you go, man, I think they should hear this, please share it with them. And as always, like, subscribe. Let's share this message of hope. This is a message of hope, of walking with God and being in conversation with Christ and the Holy Spirit, and letting that transform our lives, and being who God created us to be. And like you said, it's not about the actual walk. It's about the relationship. And you just put that so well, and I appreciate it. And again, thank you to Baylor for the space today. We appreciate that. But you know what? I think we're done, so we're going to wrap it up. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'm sure you're going to be walking today. And I hope that your upcoming adventures are wonderful, and that I just love how you pour into so many people, and that you use this vehicle of walking to do it.
Thank you, Miranda. It's been wonderful.
All right, guys, we hope you have a great day. Bye, y'all. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for joining us for today's episode of Southern Soul Chats. If this conversation encouraged you, be sure to follow along on YouTube and social media at steppingforwardfwd.org or Stepping Forward Ministries, so you never miss what's coming next. And if you'd like to support the mission of Stepping Forward Ministries, you can give through donations at steppingforward.org. Your support helps us to continue sharing faith-filled conversations with you and others that point people to Jesus. We'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.